Kiel Harbor, Germany, March 15, 1944, 0630 hours, and Kapitan Zerzay Ernst Weber, commander of the German Kriegsmarine's 4th Minesweeper Flotilla, stands on the bridge of his lead vessel R-207, conducting the morning sweep of the harbor approaches, confident that his 12 modern minesweepers, employing the latest magnetic and acoustic detection equipment, can locate and neutralize any mines Allied forces might lay in these heavily defended waters. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Weber's flotilla has cleared over 400 conventional contact mines during the past 18 months, and his crews understand mine warfare intimately. The British prefer moored contact mines in shallow waters, easily detected by magnetic sweepers dragging degaussing cables that trigger magnetic influence mines before ships reach them. What Kapitan Weber cannot possibly know, what no German naval officer could comprehend despite their extensive mine warfare experience, is that high above his harbor during the previous night, American B-24 Liberator bombers, flying at 12,000 feet, dropped 40 Mark 25 acoustic mines and 30 Mark 36 magnetic mines, equipped with delayed action mechanisms, anti-sweeping devices, and sensitivity settings that make them undetectable by conventional mine-sweeping techniques. And within 6 hours, the freighter SS Donar will trigger one of these mines while departing Kiel, loaded with critical war materials, the explosion breaking the ship's back and sending her to the bottom in less than 3 minutes, the first of 670 German vessels that will be destroyed over the next 15 months by an aerial mining campaign so secret and so effective that German naval intelligence will never fully understand how thousands of mines appeared in waters they believed secure. The confidence of German naval forces in their ability to maintain safe passage through their own coastal waters derives from extensive mine warfare expertise accumulated since World War I, when Germany pioneered many modern mining techniques and countermeasures. Korvettenkapitan Hans Dietrich, Chief of Mine Warfare for the Kriegsmarine's Baltic Command, has overseen development of sophisticated mine-sweeping procedures that combine magnetic sweeping, acoustic hammering, and visual observation to detect and neutralize mines that British forces periodically lay using submarines, surface vessels, and occasionally aircraft. German minesweepers employ degaussing equipment that generates powerful magnetic fields to trigger magnetic mines at safe distances, acoustic hammers that create underwater sound pressure waves detonating acoustic mines before ships reach them, and trained observers who can spot moored contact mines through clear water. The German naval mine warfare doctrine, refined through 2 world wars, assumes that enemy mining operations require either surface vessels approaching close to target areas, easily detected by coastal radar and patrol craft, submarines operating in shallow waters, vulnerable to anti-submarine warfare, or low-level aircraft that must approach within range of concentrated anti-aircraft defenses. Kapitan Weber's operational area around Kiel includes extensive radar coverage, regular air patrols, submarine detection networks, and heavy anti-aircraft defenses that make conventional mining extremely hazardous for enemy forces. Intelligence assessments conclude that any significant mining campaign in German home waters would require operational commitments that Allied forces cannot sustain given the defenses present. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The convoy system protecting German coastal shipping reflects sophisticated understanding of mine threats and appropriate countermeasures. Freighters and tankers travel in groups escorted by minesweepers that precede merchant vessels through swept channels, with additional sweepers re-clearing routes periodically to detect newly laid mines. The system, while resource-intensive, has proven effective at maintaining acceptable shipping losses, typically 2 to 3% monthly from all causes, including mines, air attack, and occasional submarine interdiction. Oberst Friedrich Kaufmann, responsible for coordinating coastal convoy schedules, calculates that current loss rates remain sustainable given Germany's shipbuilding capacity and the critical nature of coastal shipping for transporting raw materials, finished war goods, and military units between German-occupied territories. What makes March 1944 fundamentally different from previous periods of the European naval war is not immediately apparent to German observers monitoring their coastal waters. British mining campaigns continue at historical rates, with submarines and surface craft laying perhaps 50 to 100 mines monthly in German waters, numbers that German minesweeping forces can handle through systematic sweeping operations. Allied aircraft occasionally drop mines, but these operations typically involve low-level approaches that German anti-aircraft defenses engage effectively, and the mines themselves, usually contact types visible to minesweepers, pose manageable threats. No intelligence indicates that Allied mining capabilities have undergone revolutionary change or that mining operations have intensified beyond sustainable levels. The B-24 Liberator heavy bomber, while primarily employed for strategic bombing missions against German industrial targets, possesses characteristics that make it exceptionally suitable for aerial mining operations that Allied planners term gardening missions in deceptive operational nomenclature. The aircraft's long range, exceeding 2,000 miles with reduced bomb load, allows operations deep into German-controlled waters, including the Baltic Sea, Kiel Canal approaches, and Norwegian coastal waters. The substantial payload capacity permits carrying multiple 2,000-pound mines that standard medium bombers cannot accommodate. The service ceiling exceeding 28,000 feet enables mine laying from altitudes far above effective anti-aircraft fire, and the aircraft's defensive armament provides protection during transit to and from target areas. Captain James Mitchell, commanding the 458th Bombardment Group operating B-24s from Horsham St. Faith Airfield in England, understands his aircraft mining capabilities intimately following conversion training completed in February 1944. The mining missions require specialized procedures, navigation with extreme precision to place mines in specific locations within enemy harbors and shipping channels, altitude and airspeed control ensuring mines survive water impact without damage, and timing coordination allowing multiple aircraft to mine different areas simultaneously. Mitchell's crews train extensively on overwater navigation using radar landmarks, dead reckoning, and celestial navigation that allows accurate position determination even over featureless ocean. The mines employed in aerial mining operations represent sophisticated weapons far exceeding the simple contact mines that dominated naval warfare through World War I. The Mark 25 acoustic mine, developed by the U.S. Naval Ordnance Laboratory, contains hydrophones that detect propeller sounds from passing ships, analyzing acoustic signatures to distinguish between small patrol craft, which the mine ignores to conserve munitions for valuable targets, and larger merchant or naval vessels, which trigger detonation. The mine rests on the harbor or channel bottom, using water pressure sensors to confirm proper depth before arming, then waits for acoustic signatures matching target parameters. The 625-pound Torpex explosive charge proves sufficient to break the back of 10,000-ton freighters or severely damage warships with single detonations. Technical Sergeant Robert Harrison, ordnance specialist responsible for mine preparation at Horsham St. Faith, handles the weapons with respect born from understanding their complexity and lethality. Each Mark 25 mine weighs approximately 2,000 pounds fully loaded, measures 98 inches long by 18 inches in diameter, and contains electronics that 1944 technology struggles to miniaturize sufficiently for aircraft delivery. The hydrophone systems require careful calibration to detect target acoustics while filtering out background noise from waves, marine life, and non-target vessels. The delayed arming mechanisms, essential for allowing mining aircraft to escape before mines become active, employ clockwork timers that arm mines anywhere from 1 hour to several days after water entry, preventing immediate detonation if minesweepers happen to be in the area during mine-laying operations. The Mark 36 magnetic mine, complement to the acoustic types, detects distortions in Earth's magnetic field caused by steel-hulled vessels passing overhead. The mine's magnetic sensors, calibrated for German waters' specific magnetic characteristics, trigger detonation when field distortions exceed programmed thresholds, indicating a large steel vessel directly above the mine. Advanced models incorporate anti-sweeping features that count magnetic field disturbances, detonating only after multiple passes, meaning minesweepers making preliminary sweeps don't trigger the mines, which then detonate under following merchant vessels that German operators believe are transiting swept safe channels. What distinguishes the Allied aerial mining campaign beginning in March 1944 from all previous mine warfare operations is not just the technology of individual mines, but the operational scale made possible by heavy bomber deployment. A single B-24 sortie can deliver 4 to 6 mines into German waters, and a mining mission involving 12 aircraft places 48 to 72 mines in multiple locations during one night's operations. The 8th Air Force and RAF Bomber Command between them can conduct several mining missions weekly, placing hundreds of mines monthly in German waters, far exceeding the capacity of submarines or surface vessels to accomplish, while avoiding the risks those platforms face from German defenses. The mining operation conducted on the night of March 14–15, 1944, typifies the systematic approach Allied planners employ to maximize campaign effectiveness. 12 B-24s from the 458th Bombardment Group depart Horsham St. Faith at 21:45 hours, each carrying 6 Mark 25 acoustic mines, with targets including Kiel Harbor approaches, the Kiel Canal entrance, and several points along the coastal shipping route toward Denmark. Captain Mitchell leads the formation, navigating by dead reckoning and radar fixes across the North Sea, climbing to 12,000 feet for mine delivery to ensure weapons survive water impact without damage while remaining above effective anti-aircraft range. The navigation challenges of nighttime overwater mining missions require precision that strategic bombing missions against area targets do not demand. Mitchell must locate specific points, harbor entrances, channel narrows, anchorage approaches, with accuracy measured in hundreds of yards rather than miles. Too much deviation and mines land in deep water where they're ineffective or in locations ships don't traverse. The navigation employs combination of radar fixes from coastal features, radio direction finding from clandestine beacons operated by resistance forces, and astro observation using astrodomes that allow navigators to shoot star positions even during cloudy conditions. At 01:42 hours on March 15, 1944, Mitchell's aircraft reaches the first mining point at the Kiel Harbor entrance. The bombardier, Lieutenant David Chen, activates the mine release system and begins dropping sequence as the aircraft maintains steady course and altitude over the target. The mines fall away at precisely calculated intervals, approximately 200 yards between successive drops, creating a pattern that covers the harbor entrance without mines being so concentrated that German minesweepers might detect and clear entire fields with single sweeping operations. Each mine with small parachute that stabilizes descent and reduces water entry shock, splashes into the harbor approaches and sinks to the bottom, pressure sensors confirming proper depth, 45 feet at this location, delayed arming mechanisms beginning their countdown to activation. The entire mining run over Kiel consumes approximately 4 minutes as Mitchell's B-24 traverses the harbor entrance on steady heading, Chen releasing mines at programmed intervals, while navigator Lieutenant James Murphy records exact drop positions for post-mission reporting. German anti-aircraft batteries fire at the sound of aircraft engines, but at 12,000 feet in darkness, the B-24 remains effectively invulnerable to light and medium anti-aircraft guns and heavy flak bursts too far below to threaten the aircraft. Mitchell completes the run, turns west toward England, and radios coded signal confirming successful mining operation. 11 additional B-24s execute similar runs over designated targets during the night, placing mines in Kiel Canal entrance, Lübeck Harbor, and multiple points along coastal shipping route toward Denmark. The entire operation deposits 70 mines across 6 separate locations, creating overlapping fields that German shipping will encounter regardless of which routes they employ.
The mining aircraft returned to England having suffered no losses, no significant battle damage, and no indication that German defenders understood they experienced anything beyond routine harassment from bombers that dropped no bombs and caused no immediate damage.
Kapitän Weber, conducting his morning minesweeping operation on March 15th, finds no evidence of new mines in Kiel Harbor approaches. His magnetic sweepers detect no magnetic anomalies beyond the usual background variations from geological features in previous mine clearance operations. His acoustic hammers, pounding underwater sound waves through the harbor entrance, trigger no mine detonations. Visual observation from sweep vessels reveals no moored mines visible in the clear water. Weber reports to headquarters that approaches remain clear, standard convoy operations can proceed normally, and no unusual threat conditions exist in the area. At 06:37 hours, the freighter SS Donar, a 4,200-ton vessel laden with steel plate, machine parts, and industrial equipment bound for Norway, departs Kiel Harbor following the swept channel that Minesweepers certified clear just 30 minutes earlier. The ship maintains moderate speed of 8 knots, following precise course through the narrow channel that concentrates shipping into predictable routes. Captain Klaus Richter, Donar's master for the past 18 months, has made this transit dozens of times, trusts the German minesweeping service completely, and has no reason to anticipate danger in waters that defensive forces have secured. At 06:41 hours, Donar passes over a Mark 25 acoustic mine that landed in the channel during Mitchell's mining run 6 hours earlier. The mine, its delayed arming mechanism having activated the weapon at 0200 hours after the programmed 4-hour delay, detects Donar's propeller acoustics through its hydrophone array. The acoustic signature, propeller blade rate, engine vibration frequencies, hull resonance, matches parameters programmed into the mine's triggering mechanism as representing a substantial merchant vessel. The mine's detonator fires after confirming the target is directly overhead, and 625 pounds of Torpex explosive detonates 45 feet below Donar's keel. The explosion, channeled upward by water pressure and bottom geology, strikes Donar's hull with force equivalent to several direct hits from large-caliber naval guns. The blast breaks the ship's back at the weakest point amidships, structural failure propagating along keel and frames as metal fatigues beyond design limits. Donar's hull opens like a broken hinge, bow and stern sections beginning to separate as the sea pours into ruptured compartments. Captain Richter, on the bridge when the explosion strikes, experiences momentary confusion. There was no visible mine, no contact with any object, just sudden, catastrophic explosion from beneath his ship. Within 30 seconds, he recognizes that Donar is sinking and orders abandon ship, but the rapid flooding prevents organized evacuation as the vessel settles stern first into 50 feet of water, taking 16 of her crew with her. Kapitän Weber, monitoring radio communications from his minesweeper, hears Donar's distress call and responds immediately, his vessel making best speed toward the sinking position just 2 miles distant. As R-207 approaches, Weber observes the horrifying scene of a large freighter broken in half, stern section already submerged, with bow section vertical and sinking rapidly, survivors in the water shouting for rescue. What Weber cannot comprehend is how this happened. His sweepers cleared this channel just minutes ago. His equipment detected no mines, yet obviously a mine destroyed this vessel in waters certified safe. The recovery operations consume most of the morning as minesweepers and patrol craft rescue 34 survivors from Donar's 50-man crew. The survivors report no warning before the explosion, no visible contact with any mine, just sudden, devastating blast from below that destroyed their ship in seconds. Weber orders immediate re-sweeping of the entire channel, his magnetic and acoustic sweepers making multiple passes over the area where Donar sank. The equipment detects nothing. No magnetic anomalies, no acoustic triggers responding to hammers, no evidence that additional mines exist in the channel.
Yet obviously at least one mine was present, and Weber's equipment completely failed to detect it before the mine killed 16 men and destroyed a valuable freighter. The incident report Weber submits to Kriegsmarine headquarters describes the loss in technical detail, but cannot explain the fundamental mystery. How did a mine appear in a recently swept channel without detection equipment revealing its presence? Weber speculates that perhaps the mine was of a new type that his equipment cannot detect, or that British submarines laid mines after his morning sweep but before Donar's transit, though no submarine contacts were reported. He recommends immediate investigation of possible new mine technologies and requests updated detection equipment if such equipment exists. Korvettenkapitän Dietrich, receiving Weber's report at Baltic Command, recognizes patterns that single incidents don't reveal, but multiple reports illuminate. Donar represents the third unexplained mine loss in the past week. Two other vessels sank in supposedly swept waters, with minesweepers detecting nothing before or after the sinkings. The pattern suggests either German minesweeping effectiveness has degraded catastrophically, unlikely given that equipment and procedures remain unchanged, or that the Allies have deployed mine types that existing German detection equipment cannot locate. Dietrich orders immediate technical investigation and requests that mine warfare specialists analyze recovered mine fragments to determine if new technologies are being employed. The technical investigation, conducted by Kriegsmarine mine warfare experts examining fragments recovered from the Donar site, reveals shocking discoveries. The mine fragments show evidence of advanced acoustic detection systems, hydrophones and electronics far more sophisticated than anything German intelligence predicted Allied forces possessed. The fragments include components from timing mechanisms that delay mine activation hours or days after water entry, preventing immediate detonation that might occur during mine sweeping operations. Most concerningly, the acoustic sensors appear calibrated to discriminate between small craft, minesweepers, and large vessels, merchants or warships, meaning the mines deliberately do not trigger when German minesweepers pass over them during clearing operations. Major Wilhelm Schmidt, ordnance specialist analyzing the recovered mine components, reports to Kriegsmarine High Command that German mine countermeasures face technological obsolescence. The acoustic mines, if widely deployed, cannot be detected or cleared using existing German equipment. The magnetic mines, employing counters that require multiple passes before detonation, similarly defeat conventional magnetic sweeping that makes single passes over suspected mine areas. Most disturbingly, the mines appear to have been delivered by aircraft from high altitude. Witnesses reported bomber aircraft over several sites where mines subsequently appeared, but high-altitude delivery was thought impossible because mines could not survive impact after falls from thousands of feet.
The strategic reassessment of German mine countermeasures begins in earnest on March 20, 1944, when Kriegsmarine headquarters convenes emergency conference of mine warfare specialists, naval intelligence officers, and operational commanders to address the unexplained shipping losses that have accelerated dramatically over the previous week. Konteradmiral Gustav Kieseritzky, responsible for coordinating all German mine warfare operations, presents grim statistics. 17 merchant vessels and 3 naval auxiliaries sunk by mines in German home waters during the past 2 weeks, compared to average monthly losses of 4 to 6 vessels during previous 6 months. The acceleration suggests either catastrophic failure of German minesweeping procedures or deployment of mine technologies that German countermeasures cannot address. The technical analysis of recovered mine fragments, presented by Major Schmidt, reveals capabilities that German ordnance specialists struggle to replicate with available technology. The acoustic sensors demonstrate sophistication exceeding German acoustic torpedo guidance systems, employing multiple hydrophones that triangulate target positions and discriminate between vessel types based on propeller acoustics and engine vibrations. The anti-sweeping counters, requiring multiple magnetic field disturbances before detonation, defeat conventional minesweeping that assumes mines detonate on first sweep pass. Most disturbing, the fragments show evidence of proximity detonation mechanisms that trigger mines when targets pass overhead, rather than requiring direct contact, creating lethal radius far exceeding contact mines that German doctrine assumed represented Allied mining capabilities. Konteradmiral Kieserutsky, confronting evidence that German mine warfare doctrine has been rendered obsolete by Allied technological advances, issues immediate orders restructuring defensive procedures. Minesweepers will conduct multiple passes over suspect areas to trigger counter-equipped magnetic mines. Acoustic sweeping operations will intensify to detonate acoustic mines before merchant traffic enters channels, and convoy routes will be revised frequently to avoid establishing predictable patterns that Allied forces might target with concentrated mining. The revised procedures, while addressing known mine characteristics, cannot overcome fundamental reality that German detection equipment cannot locate acoustic or magnetic influence mines resting on harbor bottoms before ships trigger them. The aerial mining campaign, invisible to German strategic intelligence despite increasing shipping losses, continues intensifying throughout April and May 1944, as additional bomber groups convert to mining operations and operational experience improves targeting effectiveness. The 458th Bombardment Group, having conducted successful initial missions, increases mining sortie rates from twice weekly to 4 times weekly, placing 200 to 300 mines monthly in German waters. Additional groups, including the 466th and 467th Bombardment Groups, begin mining operations in late April, collectively delivering over 800 mines monthly by May into harbors, channels, and coastal shipping routes throughout German-controlled waters, from Norway to Denmark to the Baltic approaches. Captain Mitchell, having flown 12 mining missions by early May, develops refined techniques that improve mining effectiveness while reducing operational risks. His procedures emphasize concentration of mines in critical bottlenecks, harbor entrances, canal locks, narrow channels, where German shipping cannot avoid mined areas without abandoning routes entirely. The mining patterns employ mixed acoustic and magnetic mines that force German minesweepers to conduct both types of sweeping, doubling the time and resources required to clear any given area. Delayed arming and anti-sweeping counters mean mines laid on one night might not activate for days and might not detonate until multiple vessels have passed, creating psychological warfare dimension where German merchant captains never know whether swept channels are actually safe. Lieutenant Chen, bombardier responsible for mine release timing on Mitchell's crew, achieves remarkable accuracy through practice and refined procedures. His technique employs radar altimeter for precise altitude maintenance during mining runs, synchronized stopwatch for exact timing of mine releases at calculated intervals, and visual reference points, when moon and weather permit, to confirm aircraft position over target areas. Chen's accuracy, placing mines within 200 to 300 yards of intended positions consistently, proves exceptional compared to strategic bombing where accuracy measured in miles constitutes success. The precision reflects mining's different requirements. Strategic bombing attacks area targets where near misses still contribute to overall destruction, while mining requires placement in specific locations ships will traverse or mines prove ineffective. The cumulative effect of sustained aerial mining becomes apparent in German shipping statistics for April-May 1944, when merchant vessel losses in home waters exceed 40 ships monthly, rates that begin overwhelming German shipbuilding capacity and forcing operational adjustments throughout maritime logistics network. Freighters that previously made weekly runs between German and Norwegian ports now complete voyages only every 10 to 14 days due to mine-clearing delays, convoy reorganizations, and circuitous routing avoiding heavily mined areas. Coal shipments from Ruhr to Sweden, critical for maintaining Swedish neutrality and German access to Swedish iron ore, declined 30% as vessels wait days in harbor for minesweepers to certify routes safe or take longer southern routes through less heavily mined waters. Kapitan Weber, whose minesweeper flotilla has conducted intensive clearing operations throughout April, experiences growing frustration as his sweeping efforts fail to prevent continued shipping losses. His flotilla sweeps harbor approaches daily, conducts multiple passes with both magnetic and acoustic equipment, coordinates with other minesweeper groups to ensure comprehensive coverage, yet ships continue striking mines in supposedly cleared channels. The operational tempo proves exhausting. Crews work 14 16-hour days conducting sweeping operations, recover briefly, then repeat the cycle, knowing their efforts prove inadequate but unable to identify what additional measures might improve effectiveness.
Weber's after-action reports document the impossible situation. Swept channels certified clear at 0600 hours. Merchant convoy transited same channels at 1200 hours. Lead freighter struck mine at 1215 hours. Immediate resweep of area detected no additional mines. Unknown mine type defeats all available countermeasures. The psychological impact on German merchant marine personnel, forced to sail through waters where mines appeared despite minesweeping operations, proves as significant as the actual losses. Master mariners with decades of experience begin refusing assignments in Baltic and North Sea routes, accepting reassignments to Atlantic convoy operations, themselves extremely dangerous, rather than face mine threats they cannot anticipate or avoid. Freighter crews demand hazard pay increases that Kriegsmarine cannot afford, and manning shortages begin affecting convoy schedules as replacement crews require extensive time to recruit and train. The maritime insurance system, never robust in wartime Germany, effectively collapses as insurers refuse to cover vessels operating in mined waters or demand premiums exceeding vessel values.
The German Naval Intelligence Assessment of Allied mining capabilities, completed in June 1944, reaches conclusions that prove both accurate and operationally useless. Intelligence correctly identifies that American B-24 bombers conduct nighttime mining operations from high altitude, that mines employ sophisticated acoustic and magnetic triggering mechanisms with anti-sweeping features, and that operational scale far exceeds any previous Allied mining campaign. However, intelligence cannot determine how many mines have been laid, where specifically mines are concentrated, what arming delays or counter settings might be employed, or, most critically, how German forces might effectively counter the mining campaign. The report concludes with uncharacteristic pessimism. Allied aerial mining operations represent technology and operational scale against which available German countermeasures prove inadequate. Shipping losses will continue at unsustainable rates until either Allied mining operations cease or fundamentally new countermeasures can be developed and deployed. The operational adjustments German Naval Command implements in response to sustained mining losses include routing changes that abandon heavily mined areas entirely, concentration of minesweeping forces in critical channels, accepting that less important routes cannot be cleared adequately, and reduction of merchant shipping to only absolutely essential cargoes that justify the risks and resource expenditures. The Kiel Canal, critical for moving vessels between North Sea and Baltic without transiting around Denmark, receives priority minesweeping that commits 4 flotillas to continuous clearing operations, yet vessels still strike mines in the canal with regularity that forces temporary closures after each incident, while additional sweeping confirms no more mines exist in the affected area. The production and delivery of increasingly sophisticated mine variants continues throughout summer and fall 1944 as American ordnance engineers develop improved sensors, more complex arming delays, and modifications that address German countermeasures as intelligence reveals them. The Mark 36 Mod 1 magnetic mine incorporates ship counting circuits that require specific numbers of vessels to pass, creating specific magnetic signatures before mine arms itself, then detonates under subsequent vessel, meaning minesweepers making multiple passes don't trigger the mine, but the 5th or 8th or 12th vessel traversing the area detonates ordnance that appeared safe based on previous passages. The variability, some mines set to detonate on 3rd pass, others on 10th, makes it impossible for German forces to determine how many sweeping passes constitute adequate clearance. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Anderson, coordinating mining operations for 8th Air Force Headquarters, tracks campaign effectiveness through multiple metrics that demonstrate sustained strategic impact. His analysis documents 670 confirmed German vessel losses attributable to aerial mining between March 1944 and May 1945, with additional estimated 200–300 vessels damaged severely enough to require extended repair periods. The tonnage sunk, approximately 850,000 gross register tons, represents substantial fraction of German coastal shipping capacity and forces diversion of resources to replacement construction, training, and expanded minesweeping operations that might otherwise support offensive military operations. The mining campaign's strategic value extends beyond direct shipping losses to encompass operational disruptions, resource diversions, and psychological effects that multiply direct damage. German shipyards divert construction capacity from U-boat production to merchant vessel replacement, accepting reduced submarine construction rates to maintain coastal shipping at minimal levels. Minesweeper flotillas expand from pre-campaign strength of approximately 240 vessels to over 400 by late 1944. Each minesweeper requiring crew training, maintenance support, and operational costs that consume resources needed elsewhere. The naval personnel assigned to minesweeping duties, approximately 24,000 sailors by war's end, might otherwise crew combat vessels or support other military operations. Captain Klaus Richter, brother of Donar's captain who died in the March sinking, survives his own mining incident in August 1944 when his freighter strikes acoustic mine in supposedly swept channel off Lübeck. Richter's vessel, carrying industrial machinery, suffers catastrophic damage but remains afloat long enough for crew evacuation, and Richter's survival provides first-hand account of mine warfare's psychological dimension. His post-incident report describes terror of sailing through German home waters, knowing minesweeping provides no reliable protection, understanding that any voyage might end with sudden explosion from below, and awareness that crews possess no defensive measures or evasive tactics that improve survival probability beyond pure chance. The technical evolution of German minesweeping throughout late 1944, while demonstrating impressive engineering adaptation, ultimately proves inadequate against sustained Allied mining employing diverse mine types with variable settings. German engineers develop improved magnetic sweepers with stronger field generators, enhanced acoustic hammers producing more intense pressure waves, and even experimental pressure wave generators attempting to trigger pressure influence mines. Each improvement achieves marginal effectiveness gains, perhaps 10 to 15% better detection and neutralization rates, but cannot overcome fundamental challenge that mines resting on harbor bottoms employing sophisticated sensor discrimination cannot be reliably detected or cleared without actually triggering them with vessels the mines target. The statistical analysis conducted post-war by Allied naval intelligence quantifies the aerial mining campaign's efficiency compared to other strategic bombing operations. The approximately 12,000 mines delivered by bomber aircraft, requiring roughly 6,000 bomber sorties, achieved 670 confirmed vessel sinkings, plus extensive additional damage and operational disruption. The ratio of bomber sorties to major target destructions, approximately 9-to-1, compares extraordinarily favorably to strategic bombing of industrial targets, where hundreds of sorties might be required to destroy single factory complex. The mining campaign achieved strategic effects disproportionate to resources invested, demonstrating that targeting maritime logistics through technologically sophisticated weapons proved more efficient than attempting to destroy industrial capacity through high-explosive bombardment. German survivors of merchant vessels sunk by aerial mines, those fortunate enough to escape sinking ships and survive recovery operations, carry psychological scars from experiencing sudden, catastrophic explosions without warning or apparent cause. Ordinary seaman Hans Müller, survivor of 3 separate mining incidents during 1944 to 1945, develops severe anxiety that manifests as inability to sleep in enclosed spaces, reminding him of ship compartments where he nearly drowned, hypervigilance to sudden sounds, triggering memories of mine detonations, and persistent nightmares of drowning in darkness as his ship sinks around him. Müller's symptoms, shared by hundreds of mining survivors, receive inadequate treatment in wartime Germany, where psychiatric resources focus on combat soldiers rather than merchant mariners.
The final phase of the aerial mining campaign, conducted during early 1945 as Allied forces advance into Germany from east and west, concentrates on remaining German-held ports and the few shipping routes still operating. The mining proves so effective by this stage that German coastal shipping essentially ceases, except for small vessels attempting nighttime runs between harbors, accepting that daylight operations in larger ships prove suicidal given mine densities in all major channels. The Kriegsmarine maintains skeleton minesweeping forces but acknowledges through operational orders that clearing operations cannot keep pace with Allied mining rates and that maritime transport in German home waters has become untenable. The post-war German naval assessment, compiled by surviving Kriegsmarine officers during 1945-1946, identifies aerial mining as among the most effective Allied campaigns against German maritime operations. The assessment notes that while U-boat warfare received more attention and consumed more Allied resources, the aerial mining campaign achieved comparable strategic effects, denying Germany use of coastal waters, disrupting logistics, and forcing massive resource diversions to countermeasures at fraction of Allied commitment required for anti-submarine warfare. The German analysts acknowledge that their forces never developed effective counters to Allied mining technology and operational methods, that shipping losses continued at unsustainable rates throughout the campaign, and that the cumulative effect contributed significantly to Germany's logistical collapse in war's final year. The legacy of World War II aerial mining extends well beyond the immediate strategic results to establish doctrinal foundation for post-war naval mine warfare that recognizes air-delivered mines as primary method for rapidly establishing extensive minefields. The techniques developed during 1944-1945, high-altitude delivery, sophisticated influence mines, anti-sweeping features, mixed mine types with variable settings, become standard for naval mining operations. The psychological dimension, where uncertainty about mine locations and characteristics proves as disruptive as actual sinkings, informs modern mine warfare doctrine that emphasizes perception management and forcing adversaries to expend disproportionate resources on countermeasures. Captain Mitchell, completing his combat tour in February 1945, having flown 35 mining missions, reflects on the strategic impact of operations that rarely received recognition comparable to daylight strategic bombing missions. His mining sorties faced less immediate danger than daytime raids over heavily defended targets, yet achieved measurable strategic effects that bombing advocates struggled to demonstrate conclusively. Mitchell's perspective, shared by many mining veterans, holds that the campaign succeeded precisely because it targeted logistics and maritime mobility rather than attempting to destroy industrial capacity directly, a lesson in strategic effect versus tactical drama that military planners continued debating decades later. The story of Allied aerial mining ultimately demonstrates how technological sophistication combined with operational persistence can achieve strategic effects exceeding those of more dramatic military operations. The 12,000 mines, delivered by bombers flying nighttime missions that rarely engaged enemy fighters or faced intensive anti-aircraft fire, sank 670 German vessels and forced diversion of resources far exceeding the mine's direct costs. Captain Weber, who survived the war and later served in West German naval forces, reflected in 1967 interview, "We never saw the bombers that laid the mines, never knew how many mines they dropped or where specifically mines were located, never developed adequate countermeasures despite our best technical efforts. The Americans achieved strategic paralysis of our coastal waters through weapons we couldn't detect, operating at scale we couldn't counter, sustaining operations we couldn't interrupt. It was, in retrospect, brilliant application of air power to maritime warfare, using technology and persistence rather than force of arms to render our home waters as dangerous as enemy-held territory. The silent seeds that American bombers planted in German waters during countless nighttime missions bloomed into iron death that claimed hundreds of ships and thousands of lives, proving that in modern warfare, the most effective weapons sometimes kill not through explosive power, but through technological sophistication that renders traditional countermeasures obsolete and forces adversaries to abandon entire operational domains they can no longer defend.